Hey, everybody. Thank you for coming to our webinar today. We've got three amazing panelists. Well, one was sort of picked by default, and that's Morgan. And then we have two others. And really, the goal here today is we want to educate. Um, if I may be as so bold to say that everybody's looking to grow. There's nobody looking to shrink there, but I think there's challenges, and we hand selected this panel because we believe these are all three completely separate paths that people can take that will help them expand their business. And it may be things you've thought of, it may be things that you're already invested in, but we think that there's always something new going on, and I want to make sure that we can help each of you. So I'll give a second or two for people to filter in. They're coming in, but I will start by introducing myself. I'm Brad Kugler. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Direct Mail 2.0. We are a tech stack for direct mail. And when I say that, what is that? That means we offer services such as improvement in tracking, improvement in response rate, as well as other products that do propensity modeling using AI to improve your direct mail outcome, as well as competitive intelligence. We've got three platforms: dm20.com, dm20AI, and who'smailingwhat.com. You've probably heard of us. Most people have. And Morgan will be the representative. I'll let her go next to kind of explain a little more about what she does in a little and maybe cover anything I missed. Morgan, tell us who you are and what you do here.
Sure. I'm Morgan DiGiorgio. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for the direct mail performance stack that is comprised of Direct Mail 2.0, Who's Mailing What, and DM2.AI. And in a nutshell, we're marketing experts that specialize in omnichannel marketing, and we help businesses improve the performance of their direct mail campaigns. So we provide competitive intelligence, advanced tracking and attribution, lead generation tools, and as Brad alluded to, our newly released DM2.AI platform. And that will tell you what to change in your direct mail before even sending it out into the mail stream to lift and improve the response and ROI. And across the print industry, our platform is utilized as a sales tool to help grow not only the business of printers and mail service providers, but also their clients.
Excellent. Thank you, Morgan. I may add, we've actually been around for 9 years. We are not a Johnny come lately to this. All right, let's go to Tony next. Tony, tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. Tony Mancini. I'm an inkjet specialist today with HP Corporation. So HP, the $53 billion mogul, supports the industrial print portion of HP, which is what I'm a part of. I've been in the print industry, unfortunately, going on my 40th year. Started with Xerox for 30 some odd years. I've been with all the major players in the inkjet world over the last 20 years.
Great, thank you. And I guess the brands that he's worked with and who he's currently with need no introduction themselves. I'm sure that you all heard of them. All right, time for Kris. Kris, tell us who you are and what you do. We see it on your placard there, but let's unpack it a little bit more.
A lot of letters and acronyms in my world. So thanks for having me, by the way. I'm Kris Francis. I'm with 360 Advanced. We're an IT compliance and cybersecurity assessment firm. I've been with the firm. I'm a shareholder now, but I've been there for 12 years. Started at the very bottom. By happenstance, I got kind of put print mail on my desk, and I started to investigate the industry and learn about their compliance initiatives. So I would tell you that I help owners of print industry companies navigate the world of compliance around SOC 2, high trust, PCI, ISO 27001, pen testing, risk assessments, all of the things that they may need to open sales doors for their organization.
Excellent. All right, great panel. These are all very valuable products. I'm going to start with Kris here. I'm going to start by giving our own little story. This world of security and compliance, when I first came into this business 8 years ago, almost we hardly ever heard of it. We were new, that could be the case, but it just wasn't top of mind. And I have to say that if I don't know that you can go a day without hearing about the need for this now. We went through our own SOC 2 uh, compliance, and I think we're going on our third year now, Morgan. Is this our third year? So it it it's a shield that you hang that says you're okay, and I got to tell you, it has gotten us into doors that we could not get into. In fact, we signed a contract with a very, very major brand, and even though the contract was signed, they came back and were going to literally break the contract because they're like, you guys don't have any security or compliance certification. This is a deal killer. And I'm like, oh man, it wasn't cheap and it didn't happen quick, but we went and did it, and it's opened more doors since. So I'm going to give Kris the first question. Kris, as printers handle more customer data and marketing information, what are the risks that people have to address? So everybody's been on the side where I've been on, where you need this, but give us some examples of why it's important. I think that comes to it breaks down the barriers or the objections. Why is this important?
So this is going to be maybe long-winded, but I'll try to bull through it. So first of all, I'm going to address IT risk. Most of our print clients are going to have large household type names doing marketing efforts, mailing campaigns, so on and so forth. So their large client, let's just pick a like Target as an example. They may have internal printing situation, but let's just use that. They want a vendor due diligence program in place that says we're hiring vendors that are following a framework so that if we are breached through our vendor, our cyber insurance is still going to pay out. So IT risk is number one. Then we could roll this into ROI for the printer themselves. So they have what I'll call revenue risks in the market today if they don't have some variation of compliance in place that they can prove they're following a framework, they're following best practices, they do an annual pen test, so on and so forth. And then lastly, I'll just say AI is a massive inherent risk that most people don't understand today. And the old days, the good old days of people getting on keyboards and trying to breach systems are over. They will now use bots for that. And those bots are going to be so much more advanced than the average computer hacker. So how do they address this? Well, honestly, I hate that the answer for the printers, but it comes down to more compliance frameworks and those frameworks having language adjusted to accommodate things around AI. So it would be, more monitoring, different controls, just a different purview of the overall landscape. However, I think those are probably the three major ones. We're going to say revenue risk, IT risk as a vendor, and then AI as it comes into focus and honestly becomes much more efficient at breaching systems than the average person.
Good. That makes total sense. Now I'm going to give everybody whiplash here because I'm going to go back and forth between these completely divergent businesses. So hopefully this keeps everybody engaged because you may want to hear more from Kris, but now you're going to have to sit through and listen to each of us before we cycle through. So I apologize for that. Listen, it's mental ping pong for me too. Tony, printers handle more. I'm sorry, that's under Tony. What is the technology trends that that's having the biggest impact on commercial print operations today? I think we've all heard about variable data inkjets. Is there anything else, or is that still the leading wave? What's out there?
Yeah, I think to follow on Kris's point, AI is taking up the most mind share of printers and mailers. They're hoping it's to save all, but as we all know, that it's far from fertile yet, and we're excited about the potential as it looks to like do predictability on service and uptime on the presses. There's going to be a lot of things that AI is going to bring to the table, but right now, I think to your point, it's still the same old things. It's automation. It's personalization. Is how do you deliver the same product at a lower price point? You got to be more efficient. I mean, printers and mailers are probably hearing this saying, Tony, we've heard this all, but you got to act, right? I mean, it's easy to talk about it. And because I'm in the inkjet business, Indigo's been around 20 years, Toner Digital's been around 30 years, but inkjet really is at the forefront in terms of being able to produce offset quality. So how are you embracing inkjet into your business? Because that is a true cost game breaker.
Just to narrow down on that, because we've all heard about inkjet, are there advances, whether it's AI or something else, that's been made in the inkjet manufacturing process in the last 18 to 24 months that might still be new to some of the people listening here? Maybe they haven't invested yet.
And, I think there's two misconceptions. One is that quality's not there yet. And I can tell you quality is at or equal to any digital device, and now it rivals offset in certain applications.
Okay.
But I think more importantly is the automation that allows the press to have, 94% uptime.
Mm.
I spoke to a customer just recently in Atlanta. He said, Tony, I don't know, I don't remember the last time we had a service call. Well, pretty much anybody in the digital world that's on that break fix model, it's call my vendor 4 hour response time, call my vendor 4 hour response time. When you can run for 6 months without a service call, I mean, think of that in the offset world, how much maintenance a pressman does daily. There's less maintenance on inkjet today than a traditional offset.
Mhm.
That's
And most
fantastic.
customers don't
Now,
know that.
this may be biased response, but is this an industry-wide thing, or is this mainly HP that's got these issues that they don't have any service
No,
issues?
to be fair, I think inkjet in general, because of the way inkjet works, the mechanical, it's a simpler process. So I think everybody can offer that kind of uptime. We do everything. Everything we do is different than all of our competitors. And, that's for another day. If people want to engage me on why HP is different, I can certainly go into that. But the result is uptime and more prints out and profitability.
Good. Fabulous. Great. Mo, what are the most successful commercial printers doing today to win new business that others are not?
Well, in my opinion,
Okay.
the highest growth printers have stopped selling print and they've started selling business outcomes and performance marketing. So, in my experience, a non-progressive printer is sitting around waiting for an RFP, responding to a quote, or order taking. They aren't really selling anything. And the top performers are proactively identifying companies that are actively investing in marketing and print and customer acquisition, and then they're actually bringing strategic ideas to the table. They are actually selling and they're marketing too. They're using data to find prospects, they're leveraging technology to personalize reach, and they're actually positioning themselves as marketing partners instead of production vendors. So from my experience too, and what we see a lot of, and why a lot of printers or mail providers come to us is because they're investing in value-based products and services, and then they're utilizing those tools to actually position themselves as doing something different and adding value, which then helps them close the loop on their sales and marketing efforts, grow their business, get their clients better results, and then they're using technology and tools to actually prove and show ROI so that they can ensure repeat business. So that's what we do here. Direct Mail 2.0 is a prime example of what one of those sales tools are. Hey, we're doing something different than ABC printer down the street. And now instead of being competitive only on price or who can do it for cheaper, you're actually providing something of value.
Great. I totally agree. And I was going to add something to that. So in my experience in dealing with commercial printers, that you are having them fall into two major slots amongst many others with regard to printing. You've got the ones that are client facing that must sell a a benefit or as a result, as you say. And then behind them, I've run into a pretty strong group of wholesale printers, and their specialty is volume price of just putting ink on paper for the ones that really go and sell the more specific programs. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that too, but you're getting certain types of printers that really specialize on being more of a marketing outcome
Mhm.
operation versus being a manufacturing facility, which is fine. So not there are some that are poised to be that manufacturing facility, and that's what they do really well. And they offer these integrated connection points to the ones that sell print as part of an outcome. So, and I think that that's fair enough. There's a value in specialization. Printing can be a tough manufacturing process, very demanding clients who the color must be right, the timing must be right, the delivery must be perfect. And to combine that with a marketing outcome promise, it becomes a lot for one company to juggle. So that's just something I've noticed. If anybody's got a comment on that, I just wanted to put that out there. If you are just an ink on paper company and you do it really well, there is definitely a need for that, you know. So I do want to say that we do have a Q&A that we'll do at the end, but if people are just have a burning question and they just can't, they got to sit on their hands, go ahead and put it in the Q&A or throw something in the chat, and I will try to moderate that while our panelists are passing words of wisdom. All right, so we're going to go back to Kris for the next question here. What are the most common security gaps you see within print organizations?
I think I'm going to have an answer that you're not expecting.
I
Um,
hope so. It
I'll
makes it more
caveat
fun.
it with depends on their size, but more often than not, we've put family members in positions of power and they are unwilling to change for growth.
Hmm.
That is a problem. By Morgan shaking her head, she's had these conversations.
Not just in the compliance and security area.
Yeah,
No,
So,
yeah.
no.
Leadership, everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, is it a security gap if those people have the right intentions? Not necessarily. But if they're unwilling, the old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. If
Hmm.
they are unwilling to think about things differently, it is very challenging to implement compliance. It really is. So outside of that, I would say also depends on their size. The smaller ones often don't have cameras or logical access controls or things like that. But ultimately, I think that the cultural change is the gap that people don't often recognize when you go from we don't have compliance, we just kind of like free spirited do whatever we want to oh now we have to have a high trust in place. Well, there's a cultural change that comes along with that. And even though maybe it's not a security gap, I think it's the biggest challenge that printers have when they bring compliance in. And I've had several who have hired us to do the job, couldn't get their people to acclimate to the things that we needed to do, and the project died on the vine halfway through. So I would say that even though maybe it's not necessarily infrastructure specific from a security perspective, it is the biggest gap that most of the printers out there who have most times grown through family and have structured a business that operates well. But when it comes time to revamp those policies, those procedures, and the controls that govern them, uh, often that is the hardest part for them because it's a big uplift, it's a lot of change, and some of these businesses, I won't call them hobby businesses, but they've been in place and operating how they operate for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, right? And now all of a sudden, they're becoming very technology specific, offering billing solutions and hosting services and bringing AI into the forefront. So it's a big change for a lot of them. And I would say that from what I see, the conversations I have with various CEOs, that is the hardest part.
Hmm.
That makes sense. They're brought in basically by birthright, and they're given a very senior position, and things are usually been humming for years before they got there. You
Mhm.
just put on the boots and you walk. But with the changes, you may have to switch directions or change shoes or something. But I get it.
Yep. Yep.
I wanted to inject a question that is my own sort of uh, curiosity. You have on your background there high trust ISO, SOC, and PCI. I've heard of all of those. Do they all apply to the marketing world? And if I'm a guy, which one do I need and why? Maybe you can help shed a little
That's
light
a
on that.
long.
Great question. It is, give me a minute. So
Okay.
this is a business strategy conversation, and I think it starts with the current client base. What's important to you, Mr. Client? What is going to scratch that itch per se? Now, there's also a position on this conversation of where's our organization going?
Mm.
Are we going to focus on healthcare? Are we going to focus on payments? Is a SOC 2 good enough? I don't know the answer. However, as part of 360 Advanced, as we ingest new clients, these are conversations we have with them. And not simply for the expansion of the sale, but we need to understand what's the strategic growth position of the organization over the next 5 or 10 years. And we can make recommendations on where they should go from there. However, I would say that if we're an organization today with nothing, a risk assessment, a pen test, and a SOC 2 is probably going to get you a lot further than you think. Now, if we're going to be more strategic, like I was mentioning, we want to get healthcare clients specifically. All right, well, high trust is going to play a factor or some level of HIPAA program that you can demonstrate, depending on the healthcare client. Some of them hardcore and high trust, some of them okay with a SOC 2 plus, which I can explain that that one's not quite as known or common. However, it always comes down to a business strategy conversation about what growth looks like. And if it's status quo, let's just hammer out a SOC 2 and move on with our lives. But if we want to triple the size of the organization and bring in all these new industries, well, let's understand what kind of compliance frameworks are important to them and create a plan to get all of those in place.
Good. For some reason, I'm fascinated with this stuff, so I have my own curiosity. All right, we'll move on to Tony here. Tony, what are you seeing the greatest efficiency gains from automation and workflow? Where are they coming from? Is it software? Is it hardware? Is it the combination of both? Where if you're
Well,
going into an
yeah.
old printer with a new printing machine, where could he expect to see the most gains? What's it going to do for his bottom line, and how long is it going to take?
Well, excluding AI, which is obviously going to play a role, it's traditional things. It's pre-press. I'll talk to commercial printers and say, how many people touch a file before it gets to the press? Do you actually open a file? Do you do manual imposition? Oh, well, we check every file. Well, with today's software, there's no reason to check a file. So it's pre-press automation, it's onboarding. Another big one that hits the bottom line is waste. How do you control your waste? I had a competitor one time tell me they were running at about 13% waste. I had another printer say he was running at 46% waste. How do you
Whoa.
recoup? How do you recoup that kind of a number? So it's really a combination, as you say, hardware. So I'll give you a great example. I was just at BJU Press down in Greenville, South Carolina for a big open house they had for us. And now these numbers are big, and somebody's going to get a calculator out and want to call me on it. So we'll take this offline. But in the past, traditional unautomated workflow and printing, they were running 3 shifts, 60 hours, and 12 to 15 people. Today, to produce the same amount of work, they run 1 shift, 3 to 5 people, and 6 hours.
Mhm.
Wow.
That's software and hardware. Now, there was an investment. You can go on LinkedIn or on YouTube and look at BJU Press, and they'll tell you the numbers. There was a significant upfront capital investment, but nobody would deny that ROI. I'd want to see that on a spreadsheet to see what that looks like.
Mhm.
So let me ask you, printing business multiples and margins it's, I mean, it's almost a commodity at this point. And I'm a guy who's had, sheet fed presses for 20 years. I'm coming to the end of their useful life, but I know I'm going to have to spend $3 or $4 million. I'm only doing 5 or 6 million a year, maybe 10 on a good year, 2, 3 years ago. Who's financing stuff like this? I mean, are there, if there's some guys out there going like, I don't think I could ever get approved. Have you gone into places where you've had that situation where they just assumed they couldn't afford it and you showed them that they could? Give us a story
I appreciate that, because the one thing that we do, and I've been part of the 3 major players in the inkjet world. The one thing that I know HP does as well, if not better, let's give them all credit, than anybody else, is we offer a full, no commitment ROI or TCO analysis of your business. So if you're one of those people that just say, I'm sure I can't afford inkjet, let me come in and do a study on a job basket of what's representative of a month's worth of work or a year's worth of work. We'll come back, and our analyst, not a salesperson, my financial analyst, will present, here is your labor savings, here is your electrical, your space, your media. Does anybody know that traditional offset going to roll is a 15 to 20% paper savings? Does anybody know that on top of the paper savings, you can go from a 13% waste to a 2% waste? I have a customer in Dallas. She says she's now running at 0.8% paper waste on an inkjet press, running 16-point direct mail postcards at 400 feet a minute. Unheard of in the industry.
Mm.
So give us the opportunity. You got to understand, don't be afraid. There's no commitment to allowing us to provide you this analysis. We give you the data. You may take it back and build your own business plan and buy somebody else's product. We don't care. We just want the opportunity to come in and show you how can this transform or not transform your business, because it's not all roses, right? We'll come in and say, of this XL106, we only can really profitably move 58% of your work over. Well, what am I going to do with the other percentage? Am I going to outsource that? Do I keep it? Is there another solution, Tony? Yeah, we have indigos. There's a lot of ways to slice up the pie, but give us the opportunity to come in and do this no-cost service to you, and other vendors offer it too. But not just here's the cost of ink to produce a job. All that gives your customer is a burden of doing all that work on top of what the ink cost is. We will, working with you, understand your hourly rate. Is it fully benefited or not? your square footage, your electrical costs, the whole 9 yards, and produce a really useful tool, then you can make those business decisions on.
Right. And that this is a good segue is what we roll back to Morgan as the next question. You know, I, I would assume a lot of business owners, if there's a slowdown, or let's say the industry is not doing as well as it was doing 2 or 3 years ago, there is a fear. There is a fear. Why would I go out and spend more money and invest in technology, invest in new compliance standards if I'm selling less? Okay. So trust me, I've run and owned businesses for 30 plus years, and I've been down this road many times. And it's probably one of the toughest calls for a business owner or executives to make. Things are slow.
Mhm.
Do I batten down the hatches and concentrate on what I do right and what I do well? Or do I invest, whether it be marketing, whether it be technology, whether it be manufacturing, compliance certification? What do I do? I have to say, and I'm going to give my story for a minute because we're running good on time here. I had a business for 23 years that sold packaged media, CDs and DVDs, into e-commerce, into retail. And I think everybody knows what happened to that business, right? It doesn't exist anymore. That's why I'm here. So we tried many things. We knew that the end of the road was an oncoming train. It was not a light at the end of the tunnel. And I can't tell you how many times I'd be up at night or I'd be with my partners, my brothers, and say, we can spend this money and we can go for something, or we can just hold it close to the vest and maybe make our own payroll a few extra months. All right. In the end, we invested and we found other businesses. Um, Again, there was no point investing into a business that had no future. It's like selling more buggy, investing in a leather business to make more buggy whips as cars are coming out. What they should have done is invested in car seat fabrication for the cars that are coming out. So I'm just trying to put myself in the place of owners and executives who have a fear on spending money when things are tight. And I say, the entrepreneurs that are risk takers are the ones that are going to have the chance to break out. If you do nothing, doing nothing is only going to extend the pain and agony that may be the eventual end anyway. So go for it, invest. At least you've got more time to get started again. I don't know, but I'll go to Morgan because uh, I'm a believer in moving forward and trying something. There's no guarantee in anything you do, anything. Um, Invest and move on, and reinvent yourself. But all right, Morgan, let's talk about stuff. How can tools like Who's Mailing What help printers uncover prospects that they are already spending money on direct mail? So give us an example of, it doesn't have to be direct mail 2.0, or how do these tools help them?
Yeah, well, instead of I mean, listen, there's millions of businesses in the United States, right? So which of these businesses are spending money on marketing? And of the ones that are spending money on marketing, which of them are utilizing direct mail or maybe interested in direct mail? I don't know, right? I mean, your estimation of efforts, if you're utilizing a platform like Who's Mailing What, instead of guessing who might be interested in direct mail, it allows you to actually see who's already spending money on direct mail, and will give you the contact information of the individuals managing the mail at those organizations. So if a company is mailing every month, they've already approved the channel, they've already allocated budget, they already understand the value of direct mail, and that's a much easier conversation than trying to convince someone to use direct mail for the first time. And there's a lot of power in Who's Mailing What also that comes from being able to identify trends, like seeing who's increasing volume, entering new markets, testing new formats, or mailing consistently, because those are really strong buying signals. So you can be selective about who you're reaching out to rather than just cold calling random businesses. You're targeting organizations that have already raised their hand and said, hey, we believe in direct mail. And that's dramatically more efficient sales strategy than And if you have some kind of a value-based service or something to position or set yourself apart too, from ABC printer down the street with someone that's already utilizing or leveraging mail, or maybe you look into who's mailing what to see what they're actually mailing, what the creative looks like, what the offer looks like, what the call to action is, and you reach out and say, "Hey, we think that we can do a better job and we can offer more value," or we can shorten or condense turn times, and that gives you real opportunity to go out there and actually secure and acquire new print business, right? So it's a very lucrative tool, and there's a lot of ways that you can leverage competitive intelligence out there to really utilize that as a sales tool to grow your business in the most effective way possible and with the lowest estimation of efforts.
Fair enough. Good. Good. Again, got to invest. Good. Kris, all right. What compliance requirements are evolving currently, and what should printers be prepared for in the coming market?
So, um, periodically, the AICPA, which is what governs SOC engagements, will put out an update
All
on
right.
the
You got
program.
to explain what that is. Who is that?
So the AICPA is basically the governing body for CPA firms, and by default, we are a CPA firm that issues SOC reports, but we don't do any tax or financial stuff. So don't call us for that. We're all InfoSec type people. So I think that it's one, keeping, lockstep with your clients on what they expect. So maybe send out an annual survey. Do you have any additional requirements? Also, that is opening a can of worms. So be careful if you do that. You better know your clients well, because they will always ask for more. And sometimes it's not always ROI specific. That being said, there's also some new frameworks coming out. One specifically that comes to mind for AI agents is AIUC. It's not even really hit the street yet. We're on we signed up to be like one of the first ones to issue one of those certs. There's one other firm out there that can do it currently, but it's all beta currently. And then there's ISO 42001, which is AI specific. So I think it's really taking the legacy compliance program into the AI arena. I think is really the changes that they need to be looking out for. Now, with that, they need to measure the ROI of implementing these programs and ensure that if we're doing it for just one client, can we sell other clients that are going to require this? So I can dig into more of that later, but really, I think it's keeping up to date with what your clients expect, where the business is going, what frameworks are changing, and specifically around technology, how is AI going to impact our business? And is there inherent AI risk that we need to address with a new framework? Just real quickly, I'll add to that. Bringing in a new framework doesn't mean you're going to add 100 controls to your control set that just say is supporting your SOC 2. Your control language should be general so that it can support multiple frameworks with one statement versus having a specific control for SOC 2 and a specific control for high trust or whatever it may be. So again, this would be some of the value that we provide in helping people get that language right. However, adding a new framework doesn't mean you're implementing an additional 100 controls just for that framework. We want to find leverage across that control set and have an overall like hierarchy of IT risk management as a result.
Good. So I want to ask a couple little follow-on questions. I totally agree that the clients will probably drive the need because they're the ones that are going to ask for it. Very few companies, including ourselves, are going to want to rush out and pay for all this compliance that nobody's asking for. Okay. I would imagine that's the case. Um, one of the other for us, I would say it's annoying is these surveys we get from our clients that we have to self-evaluate or fill in. There must be hundreds of questions, okay? Most of them don't even seem like they're in the same language, or they're not applicable, or they're completely irrelevant to anything we do for them. Um, they kind of circulate around the company and nobody knows how to answer them, and they end up on my desk, and me and the CTO sort of work through them together. Do you guys, is that part of the service? Because nobody likes those things. Do you do that for your clients?
So short answer is yes. We have an advisory side of the house that can basically be your security questionnaire repository. Now, to do this really intelligently, we're working on a Claude bot that would be in a client environment and understand the answers that need to go into specific questions, and we can get like 70% of it done.
And I was just going to ask. I
Yeah,
mean, I
so
think
there is an AI aspect that we can do that. When we have Claude licenses in our own environment, so like that data is not being put into an LLM that everybody, somehow uses. There's also several applications out there around GRC that can do this as well. So the old days of getting an RFP with a 200 question security questionnaire, I would say are coming to an end. I don't think that the technology is super baked out quite yet, but it will happen in the near future. And I believe that the really smart technology providers out there are going to integrate that technology with like a standard, what you would probably call CRM, we call GRC, which is governance, risk, and compliance. And there's several platforms out there that support like a IT risk assessment platform, but then they also can map all of your policies and your controls to the requirements of whatever framework you're working on. So we're in the end days of manually doing those things. But yes, those exist, and I think they're getting better every day.
excellent. Good to know. All right, Tony. So I'm sure you can do this one in your sleep. And besides price, what should printers be thinking about when in evaluating their next equipment investment? That's kind of a big,
Yeah.
wide
No,
open.
I think that's an easy one. It's got to be what's the total impact to your business? Because at the end of the day, you're printing to make a profit. So if you have a piece that takes 5 touch points to get out your door, and then you got 30 days net bill, when are you going to see a profit, right? How long does it take for that job to get through your shop? So I usually will go right to the back to bindery, and I start looking at pallets, and I start asking questions. Where's this pallet going? Oh, it's got to go back into digital to be reimaged for variable. Oh, okay. And then it's got to go to inkjetting, and then it's going to go to bindery, and it's going to go out. So if those 5 touch points were 2 touch points, you're going to get paid sooner. Simple things like that. And back to that ROI, understanding not just that you're going to spend 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, that scares people. But if you say at the bottom end of the day, the bills that you're paying your vendor go down 30%, or your profit goes up 8%. Those are the numbers that drive your business, not the upfront investment, because everybody has to take that painful jump into some kind of a capital investment. But what's the term for the ROI? If my payback's 28 months, wow, 28 months, not 8 years. And also Inkjet, I don't know if you know the platform, our stuff is going to be around for 20 years. Our oldest press in the market was just upgraded in the field, not removed, and the new model put in. The same exact press was changed, hardware, a little electrical, and new heads to a new model, and now they got 7 more years of life. The ROIs are different these days, but I don't think printers, they may be afraid to invest the time to do that because maybe they think they're giving up data. But this is all, there's no customer names. It's just sheets and impressions, and we evaluate it. You really got to look at the total impact to your business. And I think, like I said, the easiest one that I walk into the back is just touch points and pallets on the floor and space it's taken up, and how long before that job's going to pay you. Get your cut, because obviously net 30, back it up. And how many more touch points do you get to that?
So let's unpack the definition of ROI here. Is
Yeah.
ROI the savings that you're realizing every month, less the cost to service the debt or operate the machine? Or are you thinking of ROI? If I buy a $3 million printer and my savings are $100,000 a month, and in 30 months I've paid off the printer with those savings. Where do just for the layman out there,
Yeah.
what model are you looking at for ROI?
Yeah. So our strategy or our philosophy is we provide you with more information on your current cost to produce compared to how it's going to be able to be produced on another technology, whatever that
So
might
that
be.
ROI is the difference between your cost to produce with the what you got now and how it works, including the loss and the downtime and everything else. Whereas if you buy this machine, this will be your additional profit margin based on replacing the equipment. So you're even taking into account if there's debt service on an older machine and the servicing costs per month. So you're You guys go down into those brass
Rags, fluids,
everything.
disposal, electrical square footage. I mean, we're constantly asking customers, do you know your kilowatt usage today? What is your rate? And we always, whenever we do something, we put the worst imaginable default because we know it's worst case. What's your paper spend? What's your paper waste? This is what traditionally we see. If that's not right, tell us and we'll change it. But I
And what
guess
if
back
there's
to
no
the
debt
point.
service on the old machine?
Yeah.
It's owned outright, free and clear. Does
Huh?
it make it harder to justify that ROI with a new thing, or are you
So another example, customer said to me one day on a Friday, "Hey Tony, thanks for all the work. You just told me I need to get rid of 6 people in Bindery." And I said, "No, that's not what I told you. What I told you is that you have an excess and we need to repurpose that labor and don't have them carrying and loading pallets and moving around your shop.
got
With
it?
this new automated solution, you're going to be able to go right from print to Bindery and out the door. So get them over in some other area."
Understood, understood. So sometimes the old equipment is so dated and inefficient, the labor costs are more than the debt service on the machine would be anyway, and
And there's one other thing we're not really thinking about, and not a lot of people want to talk about it out loud because the workforce that are manning these traditional presses,
Oh,
they're all near retirement age.
yeah.
You
right.
know, and that's something that HR can't really come out and say. But I had an HR person one time said, tomorrow 4 people could walk into my office and retire, and we're in trouble. But I
Yeah.
Mhm.
can't be proactive because it's against HR to start soliciting when are you going to retire? I need to back end this strategy.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Excellent. Excellent information. I hope that anybody else finds some of this nitty-gritty information. And I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, Tony, with some of this
No,
stuff.
not at all.
But these are the things that I'd be asking if I was in the market. So I figure I'm doing it for everybody's edification.
After 40 years, a lot of these customers are my friends, and you establish these relationships. You want them to be successful. You just got to get through that first kind of veil of just allow us to peel back the onion a little and help you.
Yeah, I imagine you see a lot of financial information on a lot of commercial printers. And I imagine it's all over the map. Some are doing exceedingly well, some are probably not doing well at all.
Mhm.
Are you able to actually help printers that may not even be profitable now? Or is it off the table? You can.
It, it, there are so many times where we walk out, and we don't sell them a thing, but we help them
Okay,
identify their opportunity areas, right?
good. All right, fair enough. I appreciate it. All right, Mo. AI is a huge topic. It's already come up in almost everybody's discussion so far. Now we're gonna drill down into it. What are some practical ways printers can use AI to improve sales performance and business development?
Yeah, I like the focus of AI in this arena because I think most printers are asking the wrong question about AI. They're asking, how can I help me save time? When I think the better question is, how can AI help me find revenue? Because you don't become a market leader simply by reducing costs, right? So AI can help a sales rep do the work of an entire research team. It can analyze direct mail activity, identify buying signals, uncover new markets, build prospect profiles, create sales strategies, and it can even generate campaign ideas. And it does it in a matter of minutes, right? And that allows them to get into consultative selling. So we can take a prospect's mail piece and instead of just simply quoting a job, you can upload that mail piece into AI and ask questions like, how would you improve response rates? What offer strategy should be tested? And within seconds, you're getting strategic recommendations that can help improve the campaign. And then if the campaign performs more optimally, then they're going to buy more direct mail or print from you, right? And your sales reps aren't now walking into a meeting talking about paper stock, turnaround times, or price. They're walking in with ideas, insights, and recommendations that can actually help the client generate more revenue because that's what they care about. They don't care what press you have or this or that. They care about what it's going to do for them. And that's a completely different conversation. The discussion now isn't, hey, can you beat my current printer's price? It's how can you help me improve my marketing results? And that was really what was at the forefront, Brad, when you had your idea about DM20.ai, right? Because it actually does that. It allows marketers and printers to upload a direct mail campaign before it even goes to print. And we provide an AI powered analysis that predicts likely performance, identifies strengths and weaknesses, and recommends specific improvements to increase response rates and ROI. So, in my opinion, the printers who win in the future, they're not going to be the ones with the lowest price. They will be the ones bringing the best ideas, and tools like DM20.ai are going to help salespeople do exactly now into a adding value.
Right. So I think somebody's got a background noise, but all right. Morgan, I wanted to expound on that a little bit. I would say, and I think you'd agree, that most of the commercial printers that we cross paths with have a difficult time finding and bringing on new commercial print clients. Would you agree with that statement?
100%.
Okay, good. So give a word of wisdom or two. What tools, what things could they invest in, or what could they be doing to open up the top of the funnel?
Well, I mean, marketing for one, practice what you preach. Are you investing in marketing? What does your website look like? I talked a little bit about it before. If I go onto your website, does it show me, not to throw any shade over your way, Tony, because what type of equipment they're utilizing is extremely important, but don't have a picture of your press on your website and say what you have. Nobody knows what it is or what it means. They care about what it's going to do for them. So how are you positioning yourself as a print organization? What is it that the clients see when they go to the website? Are you talking about what you're going to do for them, providing case studies about the types of ROI that you've provided for other clients or the business that you've generated for them? So I would say invest in yourself as an organization on how you're positioning yourself in the marketplace. And number one, marketing, because you are selling marketing. You are selling leads, and people are going to pay attention to how you are marketing yourself first and foremost. And if you're not doing a good job at that, then why should they invest in you to allow you to do that for them? And the only way to get leads is really marketing, right? So, and practice what you preach. If you want people to use direct mail, then you should be using direct mail. Have a good CRM. Be integrating artificial intelligence into your CRM to help your sales reps utilize that more efficiently and effectively, and help save them on time. And I could go on, but I think that investing in sales and marketing is what's going to ultimately drive the revenue that's going to help you keep the presses running, the lights on, and the doors open.
Thank you, Morgan. I want to emphasize a point you made about investing in yourself. That's really the bottom line of this entire webinar today, whether it's in equipment or compliance or marketing. Invest in your own business. Okay. Even if it hurts, invest in your own business. And I want to give you a specific on the marketing thing that I've seen recently. I probably spend too much time on social media. Yes, TikTok, Reels. The little shot of what is it, endorphins from seeing a 30-second clip that we all get hooked on. I don't know how it happened, but it did. There was a 30-second little video um, of a direct mailer showing a bunch of postcards and just claiming how he's blown up this business and blown up that business and why fight the email marketing craze and this and that. Try direct mail. I was like, wow, that was refreshing. Next thing you know, I got three companies that are dominating. When I say dominating, it's because it's my feed and I clicked on one and I said I liked it. So of course the next day I got three more. So the I now have found three companies on TikTok that promote the efficacy and the results of direct mail. They're usually young ladies that talk quickly. It's a 30-second video. And I tell you something, the millennial folk, I don't even know if they know what direct mail marketing is. I think that everything to them is something that they see on TikTok. So having somebody, yes, they had to find a spokesperson, they had to write and shoot the videos. They probably had to do something to get them to show up. Maybe they're paid. I didn't even look. But invest in yourself. Spend a few $1,000s marketing what you have, explaining why you're different and how you can help your customers. That I just wanted to give that back. And at this point, we're about 10 minutes from the pulling the plug thing, and I did see
Yeah.
one or two gentlemen that asked several. So I'm going to go over these and I'm going to read them to you. This is from Michael in the audience. He says, "Do you believe rising printing, paper, ink, and postage costs have been major factors in newspapers and magazines moving to digital formats? Have these costs also contributed to fewer print editions and the decline of traditional catalogs? Additionally, are direct mail companies such as Valpak placing more offers in a single envelope to help offset the printing and mailing expenses? How much of these shifts to digital is driven by economics versus changing consumer behavior?" I'll continue to go on and then we can all comment on this all afternoon. If printing costs continue to rise and digital alternatives become more effective, what will the printing industry look like in 2030? What products and services will drive growth and profitability for printing companies in the future? Wow, that is a mouthful, Michael. I'm going to let all of our guys give about a minute or two each of this, and I'll start. Everything you notice there is happening. It's people tend to go with what they know and what they see. What don't they see? They don't see printed marketing materials as much anymore because it is expensive in terms of postage, manufacturing, distribution, everything else you mentioned. However, that being said, there are advantages to print marketing that are not being communicated to the next generation. And you know what? We can all sit here and become the victims and watch this go, or we can be like the printers who started doing little spots on TikTok and Reels who explain the value of direct mail, acknowledge that it is expensive and that it has some of the best ROI available. It is on us to do that, or we will write our own epitaph here. There will always be print. It will never go away. There just may be few of us doing it. So let's get bright, invest in our plants, invest in our companies, and definitely invest in our marketing. That's mine. We'll go to Tony next, and then Kris, and then Morgan to wrap it up.
That's my favorite question. Thank you. So if you remember back in the day, Bass Pro catalogs, that thick, I would go through that like it was Christmas, and I'd
Yeah.
circle things and circle things and circle things. And at the end of the day, I did not act. It took them probably a decade, and that they started sending out personalized, smaller versioned. So I get my bait casting catalog of 10 pages, and I'm like, I want this one, this one, this one. Here's my website. I go online and I order it. So by them printing less, they're getting more revenue. Say that out loud, right? Them printing less, they're getting more revenue. Had a customer in Winston-Salem. He called me one day and said, Tony, you know how this was about 8 years ago when all the schools got budget cuts. So Winston-Salem State University, they want to cut their budget this year in printing from 50,000 to 10,000. And I said, well, what are you going to do, Lou? And he goes, well, now that we've got this press and our variable data, we're going to print less, but we're going to print more targeted. So they printed less. They made more because they didn't have the paper cost or the labor cost, and they got more students, 8% instead of 4% response rates. So versioning and variable data and catalogs being personalized, that's what Valpak's doing. They're all doing the same thing. You see it in the mailbox.
I have heard, just to counter that, and I don't know who told me it, and I probably should know, is that there is a bit of a resurgence to printed materials again, magazines and catalogs. People are getting screen fatigue. They need a tactile sensation. So we may have bottomed out, time will tell, but don't believe that this is the end of those products.
So Brad,
Okay.
on the airplane last night, I was looking at a catalog, and the gentleman next to me who sits down doesn't even know me. He leans over and says, "What are we going to buy?"
Listen, it's not over and out. It's up to us to get better at marketing and sales and efficiency inside the plants. That's the bottom line. All right, Kris, take it
Yeah.
away. How do you respond to Michael there?
And quickly, Tony, do you remember Sky Mall?
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I love Sky Mall. I used to
That was an
love
love
that.
amazing
that one.
magazine. I can't even tell you how many things my dad bought out
Yeah.
of Sky Mall. Now I am an OG millennial, so what I'll say is, depending on the demographic you're targeting from a client base, printing materials could be more important or less important. For me, Bass Pro is a great
For your
example.
audience. Yep.
Yeah, Bass Pro sends me an email. They have all their little things in there, and I like them. I can do two clicks to buy it, and I'm in, right? So I think my generation probably prefers a digital format, and everything is right here, right? We don't have to carry a newspaper or a magazine or anything. We're seconds away from getting whatever we want, which is kind of maybe alarming in one sense, but amazing in another. Being too accessible is a problem for budgets and things, right? But I again, I'll go back to my original statement. I really think it comes down to the demographic that you're targeting. The younger they are, probably the more digitally focused they'll be, except for Gen Z. They seem to be super weird and want everything to be done like it was in the 70s, which I'll take the pendulum swing back. You know what I mean? That's pretty cool. And then, if I reflect back onto my dad or my grandparents, they're almost certainly going to want a hard copy of whatever it is they're reading in front of them. So um, I think that as a print business, you probably and obviously need to have two different functions of that marketing effort. But they're both important for their own reasons.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
agree.
mean, as far as the magazines and newspapers, I think it's more about consumer behavior than cost when it comes to those channels. It just information's so accessible via the internet now. I mean, I won't even pay the New York Times their stupid subscription because I could just, if I
Mhm.
see an article, I can just Google it and find it for free somewhere else. So with those types of mediums, it's just more about having access to the information in different formats and it's readily accessible. I'm also an OG millennial, and I do agree with your conclusion about different generations preferring to digest media in different formats. But even within each individual subset, we prefer to start the prospect journey in certain channels, do research in others, and then actually convert in others. And both channels are very important offline and online. And yes, the nauseating, twice a year postage increases absolutely has caused a detriment to the print industry. It's shrunk people's profit margins. It's caused a decline in the utilization of print and direct mail, but direct mail is very effective. I mean, there's statistical data out there that's showing by the year 2030 that it's going to be a $75 billion business where it's hovering around 65 billion right now. So it is still going to grow. I just think that the utilization of the channel is going to be different. And to Michael's point, saying that, digital alternatives are becoming more effective. And just like Brad alluded to, they're not necessarily becoming more effective. And the cost of digital is rising as well. And the cost for the buying of eyeballs is going up increasingly and intensively as well. So it's becoming even more challenging to get people's attention on digital because it's so inundated and saturated in that marketing ecosystem where the mailbox is empty and it is a prime piece of real estate where a tangible direct mail piece really truly stands out. But if you can leverage the utilization of both channels in an effective manner, because people are utilizing about 5 to 7 different channels in a marketing journey, there is a place for both. And I don't see the print industry going anywhere at all. It's just going,
Morgan, do you know that I work with a bunch of printers that happen to be in the education space,
yeah.
and they say there's a major push to the printed book because children are having
Yes.
trouble on their iPads. They don't have connected internet coverage in rural areas.
Mhm.
What if the laptop goes down? Software issues. I mean, we're professionals. We have software issues on our computers all the time. So
Yeah.
they're printing more and more books, especially for homeschooling. It's a huge business for printing.
Yeah, and the cognitive ability as well. The ability to retain information through something that's tangible is a
I agree.
21%
It
increase in
is.
cognitive ability. I
There's
mean,
studies on that. Printed on paper is much more retentive than printed on a screen. I've got two last minute questions and then we'll wrap it up. This one specifically for Morgan. Can you elaborate more on a good CRM and with AI and how specifically you see AI improving CRM? Wow, you can answer that.
Well, I mean, a good CRM is a CRM that's going to allow you to ingest data and it has to be customizable, in my opinion, because every business is different, right? So there's a lot of CRMs out there that will just give you the basics, but depending upon your business, you're going to have the ability to customize it to work within your business, your types of clients, and be able to utilize certain tags and depending upon what kind of sales teams you have also. But artificial intelligence, by utilizing programs like Claude, you can create customizations through AI agents within your CRMs that actually will do the work for sales reps for them. Like say, hey, add these administrative notes based on these emails that I've sent to these clients. And then it's automatically inputting notes into the CRM based off of emails that your sales reps are sending out. So they don't have to go back in and then put notes in a CRM. I mean, I could go on and on, but
I would
CRM,
suggest one. Check out Go High Level. That one seems to be on the cutting edge of leading technology. It's reasonably priced.
it
Um,
is. Go High Level is a very good CRM.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, one last one. I don't know who would be qualified, but which print products are experiencing the fastest growth right now? I'm assuming you're talking about between uh, paper products like direct mail or magazines, then you've got wide format and you've got signage and you've got packaging. I, I, I don't know. Tony, do you have anything to comment on that?
Uh, to me, it's direct mail. Companies like Postcard Mania, that's all they do is direct mail postcards.
Yeah.
Express Stocks, you would know by the name, all they do is 16-point postcards, and they come off of the press in millions and millions of impressions every minute, every hour, every day. So direct
Yeah.
mail is alive and well.
The margins are good on those too. You're talking about pennies per piece, and you know, I could be talking out of kilter here, but cost of goods and just the ink on paper and stuff is probably 10%, maybe 20%. It just depends on the volume and how deep they're discounting. But
Yeah.
there's margin in. Listen, printing, any type of printing has a decent margin. Obviously, there's a lot of overhead with that, but the margin of the actual production of the piece that goes out the door has a good margin. Is it getting eaten up elsewhere in the company? So but on that note, we've already gone over time. I want to thank the panelists here. I think it was a very engaging conversation. Thank you to those, Michael and the others that asked questions. I hope we answered them all. There will be a recording sent out to everyone that registered, and this will end up on the dm20.com website in the next 48, 72 hours. So guys, thank you very much to the panelists. Everybody have a great week, and we're going to end the webinar now. See you guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.